What's up, Online Empire Academy? This is Joshua Woodward, and I am here with our super special guest, Valerie Pugsley. How are you doing today?
I'm wonderful, thank you. Gosh, special. That's cool. I feel honored just to be here.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit before we hopped on, and
Mhm.
Valerie, I want to say one of the things that I was inspired by is your pursuit of complete health. We were talking about
Mm.
things that you've done and chosen, and just for this year. And I loved your New Year's resolution. Wasn't a necessarily a resolution, but you
Mhm.
chose words. Can you? I just loved it, and I'd love to share that with our community. Just a
Okay,
little bit of what you
sure.
did.
So actually, the idea came from Chris Brogan. I don't know if anybody knows him. He's an online guy, and he did a thing, and he chooses 3 words every year for kind of his theme or his model for the year. And so I thought, I think I'll try that. So I've done that for the past 2 years. So this year, my words were green, movement, and simplify. And the thing we were actually talking about beforehand is green. And so for me, what green meant was that I wanted to make more green and I wanted to eat more greens.
I
And
love it.
so I was just kind of sharing with you how God kind of just arranged that. So I'm eating more greens now.
I love it. That's so cool.
And I'm
Well,
moving I'm moving more now too, because my husband and I are taking line dancing.
oh, that's so fun. That's
Yeah.
very cool. Well, explain to us kind of your story. I'd love to know your history and how you got started and what you're doing now.
hmm So the history goes way back. We don't want to go that far back, but I'll just start a couple of industries that I've worked in prior to my whole online story. So years ago, before I was married, I did retail for a while. I actually worked at Kmart. I know a lot of people like to go sourcing there. I even
Yes.
have a scarf from Kmart, but that's another story. Um, right? And then I did accounting for a while. I did workers comp. I was a workers comp claims adjuster for a while, and I worked in a shoe repair shop. And I don't know. There's probably some other stuff back there that I don't remember. And then I got married, and then I homeschooled. I had 2 daughters, and I homeschooled them all the way through K through 12. And so my online story begins kind of around 2008. I was graduating my oldest, and I had still 2 more years to do with my youngest. And I started thinking, well, what does life beyond homeschooling look like?
Hmm.
And another thing that I've done and I'm still doing is we're property managers, on-site property managers. And so the idea of being available during the day for that and then going and punching a clock at night someplace else just was not sounding real appealing. So I started, being an educator, educating my children. I started educating myself. Well, what else can I do? And I don't know, Ray. Can't think of her last name right now. Is it Perry? Ray Perry.
Yes.
So she's in the homeschooling community. So I found her, and then one day she had Jim Cockrum on one of her calls.
Hmm.
So I listened to that, and I went, "Ooh, an internet marketer, and he's a Christian." So I kind of started following him, but everything was, just real, you know, just kind of hobby looking into things because I was still homeschooling and managing and, cooking and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, as I started kind of on that journey, that online journey, I started going, okay, well, what's my niche going to be? Because they always talk about, you got to have a niche, you got to have a niche. And I'm like, okay, well, I could do homeschooling. And then somebody says, well, that doesn't make money. And so anyway, so it's this ongoing process. And as I started learning about internet marketing, and I started going, well, yeah, but you need to know just marketing. And
Uh,
then there's this whole business side of things. You got to learn how to run a business so it's just kind of been this ongoing journey. Well, in the process of the journey, um, no niches were like really feeling like, oh, I want to go do this, because a lot of it is people will buy things, but then they don't use it. And like,
hmm.
I don't want to just clutter up the internet. I mean, I'm good at creating clutter, but I don't want to add more clutter to the internet, right? And I don't want to sell something to somebody, because I kind of, the nutrition thing has kind of been an always and kind of an on again, off again. I'm like, well, that's a great industry because everybody's buying nutrition. I don't want to sell them something that they're just not going to use. So it just wasn't resonating with me to like narrow down on something. But as I continued on, I started thinking of my friends, like the real estate agent and the cabinet maker and
Hmm.
all these people. and like they didn't have an online presence, and they weren't doing things, and they didn't get what you could do with Facebook and with LinkedIn, and how you could use it as part of your business, and the idea of 7 to 10 touches to get a client, you know, just all this stuff that I was learning. I'm like, and so that kind of became my real heart and my passion, is trying to help these small business owners, you know, the little local mom and pops, and you know, the solopreneurs, and even, you know, the people that you guys are serving. In fact, I did some of that too when my was still homeschooling for a while. I did eBay way back in the day when it was first a big thing, but to really scale it, I was just doing like little onesies, and it was just taking too much time listing one thing at a time. It's like, okay, store works great, but just, you know, keeping that momentum of filling the store. And you know, I found that every time I entered something in a store, you know, I'd bump up with sales, but it wasn't something that I could keep the momentum going with homeschooling and managing. So kind of let that go. But you know, so that's my heart and my passion, is to, you know, take all this information. I'm a lifelong learner, so I love learning. I'm always learning. And with digital marketing, I used to say social media marketing consultant, but it's really digital marketing, because there's so much more to it than just the social media. And like I said, you know, it went from 70 plus titles on Wikipedia of types of marketing, right? So
Wow.
how do you pick the one that's right for you? So you know, I kind of have my favorites, and just trying to get that to the business owners and help them so that they can make money, and we can all make our little communities and the world around us a better place.
I love it. And so what is the name of your business?
So my company name is Inspired Strategic Solutions. So inspired, coming from the idea that I'm fairly creative and I got a lot of ideas. Inspired, create, and strategic. It's kind of like, you know, we were talking about this before. And actually, I was talking to somebody else recently. He goes, do you know how many SEO people come into me every day wanting to sell me this? And so, I mean, SEO may be great in its place, and if it's the right person doing it, but is that really what he needs right now? Maybe yes, maybe no. So the strategic part is, you know, working with people and trying to figure out, well, where are you at right now, and what's the next thing to do, you know?
Yeah.
And then solutions. It's, you know, we need a solution to get to the next step.
That's very cool. So what do you guys do? So if I'm wanting to come and solicit your help and get help with my small
Mm-hmm.
business, whether it is Amazon, eBay,
Mm-hmm.
or in private labeling, or I have my own website, what
Mm-hmm.
is it that I'm going to get with going to your guys' site and your guys' services?
So there's a couple different ways. Well, on my site, you know, I just try and provide things that are going to be of value and help, you know, and help the business owners. And same with, you know, the social media things and the various platforms that I'm on. I'm always just sharing content, whether it's mine or somebody else's, that I think is going to be of value. Usually it's stuff that resonates with me too. And so I'm also a solopreneur. Well, a solopreneur, but I have a VA, but it's just part-time, like about 10 hours a week kind of thing. You know, I mean, so I get it. I'm right there with everybody. So that's what's on the website. I also can do like one-to-one consulting or training, like teaching how to use a platform. I do that. There's a site called clarity.fm. And actually, this might be a good site for some of your members who have like expertise in certain areas. It's called clarity.fm /Valerie, VALERIE, capital letter P. And that's like consulting by the minute. So you can set up an appointment, you know, like you've just got a quick question. Hey, can you look at my Facebook page or my LinkedIn profile and tell me what I need to do and tweak, you know? So it's just, it's like by the minute, essentially. It's like $2 a minute, I think, right at the moment. And you know, we talk for however long you need to talk and get it taken care of. And then the other thing, and this is really my real passion project right now, is I have a Inspired Marketing and More Strategies for You. It's a group consulting call. I do it twice a month. It's the second and the fourth Wednesday of the month. It's 11:55 because, you know, technical stuff to get online, and then we start 12 to 1 Pacific time. And basically, I'll have a topic So I just kind of finished my 5 marketing basics that I like, that I think are good for people to know, whatever they're doing. And I'm getting ready to start LinkedIn, which will probably have already aired after this. But if people join, they can still get access to the past calls. And then, I'll have other topics, and I'll give you a link to the event page so people can see what the topics are. But it's a group consulting call, and the beauty with that is somebody might have a question, and you'll like, oh, wow, I needed that too. And you didn't know you needed it. You didn't even know to ask the question until it answered for somebody else. In fact, I was just on a call like this the other day, and somebody else asked a question. It wasn't my question. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so good, and I'm writing my notes away. So it's kind of like, if you have the question, somebody else probably does too. So, and it's a way to serve that community. We were talking about the solopreneurs, maybe the startups, and you don't have a big budget, but you need to invest in your marketing, and you're busy running your business, and so you don't know about all the marketing stuff. And so it's a way to get it at a very affordable cost.
That's very cool, and I think that's been one of my concerns. I've started and failed at several different ventures, and trying to build something for myself that's lasting. And one of my biggest problems has been with consulting. It tends to be pretty expensive, and I'm not able to pay the hundreds and hundreds of dollars to get a consultant. And luckily, my dad is amazing, has helped me so much. But there's areas that Facebook is not his forte. So it's I for the online presence, I've had to turn to my wife and say, hey, I have no idea about Pinterest. Will you help me? And we've ended up being successful there. But what does it look like to be a part of your program? Because for the people who are just starting out, capital isn't necessarily something we have a ton of.
Right. And so right now the calls are essentially $1 a day. If they get in now, it would be grandfathered in at that price. So twice a month, they actually have access to me. It's actually a video call similar to what we're doing now. I don't use this format, but it's similar. So, we see each other face to face, and there's time for Q&A. And, so that's a way to get access to a consultant at a very affordable price. And I cover not only marketing things, but I cover usually a mindset or productivity tip, because I've found that's been, a big part of the hurdle in being in business. And I want to correct you on failing. You haven't failed. It's just you're learning. It's your learning curve. And it's part of the journey. You learn, we all learn things all along the way, and we implement those things. And I was actually thinking of this the other day, because all these people, they sell these programs. Oh, here, learn from my mistakes. And, I don't really think we can learn from other people's mistakes. We can kind of, but not really. I think we just really have to go through it, because even some of the things that I'm implementing now, I heard this way back when, but I wasn't in a place mentally or emotionally to be able to implement it back then when I first heard it. So I was like, put it in my backpack, but I'm just now really being able to kind of implement it. And actually, the thing is that focus, Barrington shared it with us at CES, finish one course until successful. I'm entrepreneurial. I have, actually, this is one of the things on my notes that I was telling you that I wanted to share. Have you ever read the book E-Myth?
I haven't.
Okay. So just kind of as we're talking, this is me. So this is kind of what you get on the calls, depending on whatever the topic is, right? Okay, so the book E-Myth is written by a guy named Michael Gerber, and there's two parts to the book. And the first part talks about the 3 people you need in a business, and the second part talks about systems, which Brett is actually really good at, right? Yes. So you need both of those things in a business to really make it work and to scale. And so the 3 people in the business that you need, and actually this is good for all your people out there, because whatever they're doing in their business, if they can identify where they're at right now, then they're going to identify what they need. And there's a lot of creative ways to get it, but identifying what you need and then figuring out how to get that. So you need the entrepreneur. And that's typically your ideas person. They're inventing things. They're the salespeople because they're out there. They're passionate about whatever it is. And there's kind of your sales force and your inventors, your product and innovation type people. And then you need a manager, and that's kind of like your CFO, your financial officers, your office managers. They make sure everything, all the systems flow, right? They kind of make sure everything meshes together. And then you need your technician. That's your box tape guy, your lister, or your cabinet maker, your cupcake, whatever, that person that actually gets the work done. And you need all three of those. But guess what? None of them like each other.
It's so
Right?
true.
They're all conflicting, right? Because the manager's in there telling the technician, okay, you have to do this way, and you have to fill out this piece of paper, and you got to do this system, and I want the tools over here. And they're like, just let me work, right? And then your entrepreneurs out there, and they, I got another idea, right? We got all these great ideas, and we're just kind of creating more work for somebody else. I think Jason was talking about that, right? He goes, I just create more ideas for Cinnamon. So, we're out there coming up with the ideas, and the manager's telling us, they're telling us, no, stop, we can't do that. And you're like, what do you mean we can't do that, right? So, but if you just stay in one place and you don't innovate and grow, then, how are you going to, what's the next level kind of thing? So we need all of these pieces in our business. And typically we're good at one or two of those things. But like really not so good at this other one, or maybe we're just good at one of them. I mean, it's like, how are you gonna find those other pieces? So I kind of resonate. I think I want to guess, I think you're the entrepreneur type. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's I remember I took a test about that, and the two that I had was, I'm really good at like doing all the grunt work. Like I'm good at actually, getting down and packing boxes or whatever. And then I have an entrepreneurial mind and an entrepreneurial heart. So, it's interesting you talking about, oh yeah, there's two, and that you're going to have two different ones. And or there's a potential of that. I think it's interesting because the middle, like I can't do tech for my life. It's something that Dean works with me all the time, and I'm working hard at. But it's encouraging for me to know that, because those are two that I've tested high in, and so yeah.
So here's a tip that a coach told me recently, and just to elaborate on that, how to get those pieces. So my kind of weakness is more that middle piece, that managerial piece. Is not funny. Us entrepreneurs, we don't like the managing stuff. But we're all working on a limited budget. So how do you find that? So I mean, I've been kind of keeping my eyes open and finding things. I have one gal that I'm talking to, but one of the gals that she's actually a photographer now, but she used to be an admin person. So she's a really good admin person. And so she's actually a member of the my program, but I comped her with that, and then she's helping me with my admin. So there might be ways, think about ways to partner. So the task that this coach said was, think about what are the top 3 things in your business right now that are holding you back, that's keeping you from getting to the next level. What are those?
I'm writing notes. Hold on.
Okay. Go for it.
That's good. So the top 3 things that are holding you back.
The top 3 things right now that are holding you back. And then he said, okay, what I want you to do is in the next 48 hours, figure out one step you can take to move you forward in those areas. And I was like, oh, dang, 48 hours, no way. But the cool thing is I did come up with some solutions in those areas. Now, 2 of them worked out, 1 of them didn't. And actually, 1 of them was, talking with this gal and partnering with her. So it's like, oh gosh, and here I am thinking I need to hire that person, and like I was able to work out a trade. So I'm helping her with her marketing through the membership site, and then and she's helping me with that. So think creatively. I know you got a lot of other entrepreneurs out there. What are your, so that's one of my assignments for your audience. Figure out the next thing. And so that's actually an example of a mindset or productivity tip that I'll share within those calls. On each call I'll share one like that.
I love that. That's very cool. Now, for our audience, I mean, the majority of us are Amazon and eBay sellers. how do we take the model of, okay, I'm not a normal business, I'm not a typical business, I don't have the
Mhm.
normal typical business expenses.
Mhm.
How do I then take that model and translate it to your class? Because I mean, if I'm in your class and I'm talking with other people who have, a candy shop, a mom and pop candy shop,
Mhm.
what are ways that we can best open our minds to understanding the concepts that are at hand?
Well, I think you said the word right there, concepts. We're dealing with concepts. So the concepts are the same. So for example, one I like to use is KLT, which stands for know, like, and trust. We do business with people we know, like, and trust, right? And we really do business with people more than brands per se. I mean, there's a few brands out there like C's Candy. Okay, that's a brand I'll do business with just because of who it is. Okay, I know it doesn't fit with my green thing. I'm working on it, but but typically, we do business with people because we like them. Even the online academy here, your online Empire Academy, that people are getting to know Josh, and they like Josh, and they like Chris, and they like the guests that you have on. So they come and they get involved in your community and learn from you because they like you. So that's a concept. So it doesn't matter what business you're in. We can brainstorm how to do that. And with as I was sharing with you before, these are group calls. So sometimes I don't know the answer, but somebody else in the call might have an idea. In fact, this gal that I was telling you about, from her skills, she had some ideas. I'm like, wow, wouldn't have even known that, and so, we can kind of, brainstorm how that looks, for your business, because the concepts are the same. It's just how do we apply it to the different businesses.
I love that.
So,
That's again been for sure something that's held me back. It's
mhm.
the fear of cost, and I mean $1 a day. That's so simple,
Mhm.
but then
Yeah,
also
I
just
think so.
yeah, the cost. I mean, you said it earlier when we were talking before this that if you can invest $1 in your business like every day, don't like make sure
You know
your
what? You're just
priorities
going
are
to keep
straight.
struggling. Come back in a year or two from now. You're going to be in the same spot, and by then maybe you'll be ready to invest $1 a day. Because it's not just your business; it's yourself. Because
Yeah,
those things I shared with you with the E Myth and the 3 next step. That's coaching stuff. That's mindset productivity things. That works no matter what you're doing. You mentioned Pinterest, and here's another example, is that a lot of times people may have somebody in their life that they're tech, you said, so they understand how Pinterest works, but do they understand marketing? Because if you don't understand marketing, and if you don't understand the current culture of marketing, you're going to use it in a way that's not good. And I'm dealing with a lot of people who are in the upper end of the age bracket rather than the younger end of the age bracket. And the tendency is to operate from an old school marketing base, which is push, 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 push. We get advertisements on TV and billboards and this and that, and they tend to be talking about their business and being salesy all the time. That doesn't work now.
yeah.
So how do you provide value in these things, and how do you use Pinterest as a way, in your business to get traffic but not be too salesy? So actually, this was on my list that I was sharing with you early. So here's another nugget for you guys. Something I discovered with our Amazon business, because we've been kind of just going the slow road with it, and we did the pro for a little while, and then we quit for a little while, and so we're doing on our own now. We're pro again, but when we weren't, hold on a second, David. Sorry, got somebody at the front door here.
No worries.
When we were, hopefully he'll take it outside and deal with him. No, he's gonna stand at the door. Okay. Live TV, right?
No worries.
So one of the things that I found with Pinterest, and I actually found this back when I was having somebody list some things for me on eBay too. Pinterest is an awesome traffic driver,
Yeah.
but you can't just be posting, here's what's on my store, here's what, if all you're posting is what you're selling,
Yeah.
first of all, no one's gonna follow you, right? and so not good. So here's the little system I did. Now it's kind of cumbersome if you're doing it on your own. I think there's an app. I'll have to look into it to actually get you the link for it. I think it's tail something or other. It's a paid app though. And
Okay.
I'm not real sure how it works, but I think it works on a scheduling basis where you can like schedule these pins. So what I would do is I'd go in, if I'm doing it really on top of like 3 times a day, typically, you know, early morning, midday, early evening, not too late in the evening, because if you do things too late in the evening on any of the platforms, everybody's doing stuff and you just get
Yeah.
lost in the stream. So you kind of got to find that sweet spot and kind of test and tweak. But
Huh.
I would go on Pinterest and just use it like I would use Pinterest. Oh, what's interesting? You know, I'll pin 3 or 4 pins that are just in my interest area, and then 1 promotional pin.
I
So
like that.
one pin to a store. Now, there's another trick with Pinterest. I don't have a tutorial on this. Maybe I'll write one up. But actually, I think Melanie Duncan probably has it on her YouTube channel because she's the Pinterest queen. But once you create your pin, you know, you get an option to go see that pin. So go see that pin right away, and then you click edit. And when you click edit, it'll show you what URL it's sending it to. Now, sometimes when you're pinning something from your Amazon store, sometimes it'll pin directly your pin. Talk about buy box here, right? You got the buy box. Sometimes they just pin the general ASIN.
Yeah.
So whenever you pin something that's in your store, you want to just go in and check that edit and make sure that it's the actual link to your store and your product, so that when somebody clicks on it, you are the buy box.
That's fantastic. Yeah, we actually ran a class um, earlier this year and talked about, you know, how to use Pinterest, and that was just when promoted pins started. So we've been, you know, I think it's great. It's great confirmation because we've been doing 5 to 1. So every 5 normal posts, we do one of our own. And we've been working on marketing strategies on paying for advertisement and seeing some amazing traffic, and it's been great. And so it's good. It's good confirmation just of like, okay, good, I'm on the right track. Like, you know, we're pushing towards the best options. So,
but it kind of goes back to like we were talking about providing value, you know, to your audience, who it is. So I haven't actually done the promoted pins yet, but I have a friend, she's got a skincare line that she does. And so she's been playing with that on Pinterest, and she gets some good traffic. But I had a client last year who did sun visors. And so I'll kind of use that as the illustration, but I'm wanting your audience to think of Comic-Con, because we were talking earlier about, you know, you guys do Star Wars. And so that fits within the Comic-Con realm. And then this also is going back to the call that you had with Jason. You know, he talked about making that, you know, that digital product, you know, that you could do. And I was thinking, he didn't mention it, and Jim's real big on this, is that email, you know, creating that list. Because, you know, this is what you're doing right now, but you might be doing something else later on and later on. But you know what? People get to know and like you. So some of those people that are following you now might follow you into that next venture. So if you don't have that email list to go with it, then, you know, we got to work it all over. We got to work it all over again. So back to the Pinterest idea. So this gal did the visors. So, you know, who was her target? Her target was, you know, women probably, you know, 35, 40 above. Probably more like 40 above, because these were like high-end hand, you know, individually hand sewn in the USA sun visors, right? So golf and tennis were the big ones. And you know, so you start thinking about those people. What are they interested in? So I created a Pinterest board for her, but we aren't going to just do visors. I mean, that's going to get old. So we had like 3 boards that were related to her visors, but then the other boards were related to things that they were interested in. Health, nails, right? They like their nice fancy nails because these are the ones that are going to the country clubs and stuff. Of course, they like tennis and golf, so boards on that. I think I had a couple like health fitness board, you know, recipe type, like a recipe and an exercise board. So kind of like that. And with Pinterest, you got like, I think 10 boards across. Yeah. You want to at least fill those ones out above. So like, I don't know, let's brainstorm here with Comic-Con. What would be some things that would be of interest to Comic-Con people then who are also going to be interested? Oh, I know 3 of the boards were to her store, but I mean, it would way increase the traffic. So what would be some topics that would be good for Comic-Con people?
I think one of the biggest ones and one of the ones we've been targeting just with the the costumes is cosplay is dressing up like the characters. So, having a
Perfect.
board about that I think
Hmm.
having like the vintage Star Wars stuff as well as the newer movie, a board about the new movies, about the movies that came out in the early 2000s. I think
Hmm.
um yeah, my brain is going because we haven't done that yet. This
Yeah.
is great.
And you were talking about vintage and stuff. So I mean, I'm thinking back to the days when we used to watch the Antiques Roadshow, right? And they come
Totally.
on. How can you tell this is real or a fake, right?
Yeah.
You've got that expertise. Do a YouTube channel on that and produce videos showing people how to find out if it's a real or a fake.
That's great. That's so good. Yeah, I think that the opportunities that are out there to become a brand, like I think our community, I'm getting excited about this because our community gets scared about, well, I don't have a specific product, or I don't private label, I don't do that. It's like, no, you are your brand. Like
Yes.
your store, everything about it, you can
Mhm.
become a brand. And Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, they're all fantastic places that you can become a brand. And
Mhm.
so thank you. I'm excited. Like, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
cool, I'll go start a Star
Well,
Wars page.
and there's two ways to think about a brand. You can either be yourself as the brand, you can be the brand, and actually, that's the easier road to go. It's much easier to brand yourself than it is to create a brand. It's going to take a lot longer to create a brand. So what if they don't have a brand right now? Just brand, be the brand,
Yeah,
be you and be likable.
that's my goal. I always like to be likable.
You do a good job at it. You do a good job at it. You're very
Great.
likable.
Thank you. Well, what are some of the best ways to go search? We'll be posting the links, but for those of
Right.
you who are listening, where can
Mhm.
we find you? This has been amazing. First off, thank you so
Oh,
much
good.
for all of the knowledge. My
You're
notes are
welcome.
full.
Yay, good. I have accomplished my goal and I've provided value to you and hopefully your community as well.
Yes. So, what are the best places to find you?
Okay, so regarding the calls that we were talking about, those consulting calls, probably the easiest way to get to that would be it's not my main site, but it's a quick and easy site. It's called valcares, right? .com
Okay.
/ group call. And that'll take them to the landing page for the group calls to join those. And then the other way, like I'm all over. I'm on LinkedIn and YouTube and Pinterest and Facebook and yada yada yada. So right up here this is actually my Twitter URL. It's IS Solutions, the number 4, the letter U. And if they search that, I just did it before we came in the global mode, and I took up the whole first page. So I don't know, I've probably taken up 2 or 3 more pages. So from there, they could probably find, once they get to one thing, they should be able to find my other channels. The place I spend the most amount of time would be LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube would probably be the main ones. But I play on Pinterest and I play on Twitter too, and
Perfect.
Instagram, yeah, I have that one too.
Yeah.
I'm not expert in all those. I kind of just know a little bit, here and there. Well, Pinterest actually I've played with more, but yeah. So that's really it. And so here's a fun story too. We're just now talking branding, right? So I created my brand, and actually the name is a little long, and I'm going, okay, that wasn't really smart. And when I got to doing my Twitter handle, I'm like, oh, great, it doesn't fit. So this was how I shortened it for that,
I
and I
love it.
just ended up starting to use that everywhere. It's much shorter, much easier, and so I think most of my things get funneled in through there. So even if you make a mistake, you can always fix it. And companies rebrand all the time, so no
I
problem.
love it.
Just
Well,
go
I
in and do
appreciate it.
something.
This is so
Yeah.
great. Such great knowledge. And for those of you who are listening on our podcast, you can find these links on our blog page on the onlineempireacademy.com. You can also find us on YouTube. Yeah, if you guys have any questions about this and have just any questions at all, we want to hear from you. And thank you again so much for being on. This was so good. I'm inspired. I'm excited. My Star Wars Pinterest is already burning in my mind. So thank you.
Good. Good. You'll have to share it with me once you get it, and then maybe I can repin a few things for you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You are so
Well,
welcome.
until next time, Empire, have an amazing day.